CEO Bradford. Hello, CEO Bradford. So there's something that he said once that I stole that I repeat as if it was mine. So I'm going to go ahead and give him credit today. But he once said, like, public safety is all of our responsibility, and he's absolutely correct. And so thank you for letting me snatch that. I appreciate it. But it's all of our responsibility, and that's very clear because all of you are here tonight. Some familiar faces, some new faces. So I'm happy that we are here together. So before we move forward, we're going to minimize me and really amplify you today. We're going to bring the chief forward. But a last minute request was to invite Crystal Okafor, Crystal, go ahead and stand up. So Crystal is our Deputy Inspector General. And so if y'all caught the mayor's press conference a couple of weeks or a month ago, where he outlined the police reforms that were adopted by the task force, one of the things that I know myself and other council members were advocating for was having public-facing information. Making sure that residents such as yourself can go and get the information and understand their community easily, accessibly, and to have confidence in making sure that if there is a complaint against law enforcement, you can do that confidently through a third party. So there are 4 dashboards. She comes to the city with a tremendous amount of expertise. I'm excited that she's here today. She'll also be the liaison for our Independent Police Oversight Board. We passed an agenda item today where we approved, I believe it was 6 additional individuals, and we have 5 open positions. And so if you are interested in serving and representing District F, I need your resume by tomorrow. But we want to make sure that District F, that we have our positions on all of these city boards and commissions. So Ms. Crystal, I would like to bring you forth, and she'll share briefly with you about her work and what that means for you.
Thank you guys so much for having me, Councilmember Thomas. I really appreciate it. I'm really excited about this position. I think the community at large, the nation, but more specifically Houston, has called for change. Council Thomas has led the way for this change. She was a big advocate for getting these dashboards up, and that Police Transparency Hub went live on the June 1st. You can look on there, you can see use of force, you can see the demographics of HPD, you can change and search by different dates, different times, you can see a lot of different things. One of the other key things on there is that you can see, you have the ability to file a complaint. You can file that complaint in 4 different languages. If you translate it to Spanish, to French, and to Vietnamese. And then you can reach out there. You can also call the Office of Policing Reform and Accountability. I'm working closely with Chief Fenner and HPD to institute the 104 recommendations that the task force called for. We're about 75% done with those recommendations as of right now, and we're plugging forward each day to kind of make sure that we're going in a good direction. Not only those, but we're also looking to reach out to the community, and that's why I'm here today, so that we can find out what other needs there are, because these are just the start of what changes Mayor Turner wants to institute. We want to make Houston the shining beacon so that other cities can model after what we're doing and keep everyone informed of everything. One of the big things we're pushing is transparency. That is what I think is key in this time. So you've seen the changes with the body-worn cameras. Those have been released. They're going to continue to be released. And we're just really trying to make everything as accessible to the public as possible, and I am that face. And so if you need something, or you need to talk to someone, if you have a complaint, you have a good or a bad interaction with HPD, or if you're like, you know what, this is a problem in my area, please contact my office. I've got cards, and I will talk to anyone. I will come to you, or you can come to me. We can do Teams, we can do Zoom, we can do whatever you need to do, but I am here. I'm excited and ready to work with you guys. So thank you again for having me here this afternoon.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because Chief Fenner has much to say, but he really wants to hear from you, and I know many of you would like to share with him your priorities. So I'm going to briefly introduce our chief. So Chief Troy Fenner was selected as our chief in March. He's a native Houstonian, a 31-year veteran of the force. I'm grateful that when I initially met him as assistant chief, he started out with partnerships and collaboration and communication. That was really how he led. He's continued to demonstrate that as our chief. He is in high demand, as you can imagine, but he is here with us tonight. So without further ado, I want to welcome our Chief of Police, Troy Fenner.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman, and thank you for organizing this tonight. So good that we are farther enough past COVID where we can get together and meet face to face. Because let me tell you something. All that we're going through right now, as a city, as a county, as a nation, Zoom can only do so much. And I'm not saying anything against it, but face to face, eye to eye. So I came here tonight not to stand up and talk so much. My mom and dad always told me, you know what? You have one mouth, you got two ears. You need to listen to people. And now is a time that we really need to listen to our citizens. But just want to say a few things. I'm so proud of the officers, our front line, men and women, because let me tell you the true narrative that has to be told in Houston, Harris County. Nobody backed up and de-policed at any time. Our felony arrests are more each year. Even during COVID, and even last year, our felony arrests. So we're doing our jobs, and we'll continue to do that job. Let me acknowledge Commanders Reed and Commanders Angelo and the entire team. All the officers are here because I can't do anything without support in the field. And they support me, and they support our cause, and they support the citizens of Houston. So I want to acknowledge every man and woman in uniform. Thank you so much. And also our former chief of police, who is now at the DA's office, Chief Bradford. Thank you for your partnership. When I first was appointed, I told people, and I'm standing by it right now, the way to get out of the hole and make things better is to sit down and talk, okay? Nobody ordered up Hurricane Harvey a few years ago. It wrecked that criminal justice system, complex. No trials. And then something named COVID rolled in on us. No trials. But we're at a point now, we got to open up everything. The police officers are rolling, so we need our criminal justice system to open up with us. And that's on the way. We've had a lot of great meetings, and Chief was there. So you saw, and I want to give them some credit. You saw a commissioner and the county judge stand up publicly and say they have to do something. And all the judges and everybody that's involved in this criminal justice system has to do something about a system where we have 100,000 cases backed up. I think 55,000 are felonies, okay? So we really got to dig deep and do whatever we can do as a community, as a police department. This is how we're going to dig ourselves out of the hole. But just really briefly, and I'm really going to kick it over to somebody else. I don't know who all has to talk, but I really want to answer questions and concerns. So week ago, I'm sleep deprived. It may have been week before last. We had a law enforcement meeting. We got all the partners in our area, including our federal partners, and start talking about what we're going to do and just coming up with a comprehensive plan, because we need every person in law enforcement to help us with the rise in crime. Everybody around the nation. There is a rise in homicides and a rise in aggravated assaults. Do I have the crystal answer? No, I don't. No, I don't have the answer. But I tell you what, this city is a city in which I was raised in, and I served for 31 years so far as a police officer, so I'm confident. We are sophisticated, and we're going to pull together, and we're going to get things going in the right direction in Houston, Harris County. So that meeting was the first meeting, but for those criminals, those individuals who are committing violent crime after violent crime, I don't care how many times we got to lock you up. We're going to continue to do it. And with the help of our citizens in the backside of the criminal justice system, they're going to catch up with us, okay? So I'm not here to point the fingers. We're going to continue to work together. A lot of complaints, not only from this district, but districts around with nightclubs and bars, okay? And not every nightclub and bar are bad people or are not doing what they need to do as owners and management, but we put everybody on notice last week. I met with a lot of them, and I think you're going to see some improvements. And I told them, initially, I don't want to come out and just bring in a stick. Let's just comply. Be good neighbors, okay? We all know there's no zoning in the city of Houston. We understand that. So if you move in and you open up your business close to a neighborhood, be a good neighbor. That's all you have to do. And the increase of shootings in and around nightclubs, that's just not something that we're going to stand for. Just like everything else, we're going to hold them accountable, but I'm excited. And I can tell you so many of them showed up last week to that meeting. So they want to do the right thing, and we're going to hold one another accountable. So that's it that I want to talk about, because I know it's probably 75 people in here. I want to hear from y'all, and I don't know who else has to come up, but yeah. Okay? Thank y'all.
So you should have, and then if I can just expand on what he was saying, every public safety agency was convened a couple of weeks ago, from Metro, constables, U of H, Texas Southern, to collaborate so we can get a handle on resources and making sure that we're all talking and organizing and doing this collectively. So I appreciate that immediately he took the reins and started bringing in these partners, collaborating, and also with those nightclubs. And I know that's significant. So in your seat, you should have cards, sticky notes for some questions. Our wonderful interns from our summer job program will be collecting those, and then we're are we passing the mic? And they're going to read the question out loud, and then the chief inter will address that, and then hopefully they'll have an opportunity for you to meet with your commanders, and then we'll acknowledge our super neighborhood chairs for y'all to sign up with them. Does that work?
And if you want to hear from your commanders, that's all right with me. I think y'all should know them as well.
So while we're doing that, if you have some questions, commanders, would y'all come to the mic briefly so we can introduce you? So District F, we have 2 stations. We have West Side and we have the Midwest. And they're dedicated to us, and they're dedicated to a couple of other districts throughout the city. So we want to acknowledge them to put a name with a face so we can start building relationships. Come on up and introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm very appreciative of working with you as a community and as a whole. I've been with the Midwest Division for about a year, with the department about 15 to 16 years. The Midwest area is a very diverse area. As you all know, we have the highest calls for service, and we also lead the city in arrests for the first quarter of this year. We are doing wonderful things with you all in the community, and I thank you so very much over the support we've had over the last year. When we haven't been able to meet in person, I appreciate those that we've met on, through our Teams meetings and Zoom meetings. And certainly, I cannot go without acknowledging all of our differential response team officers we have here, specifically Sergeant Eaton here at Midwest. Very helpful. She's been a really wonderful tool and just a wonderful person in general that we've had join the Midwest team. And certainly she is one of our faces that we put up front and our point of contact that I know many of you know throughout the community. She's done an exceptional job over the last year working with the clubs and restaurants through times, and has made some adjustments with them and will continue to work with them. I'm just, again, proud to be here, proud to be part of the Houston Police Department, and proud to be here with our wonderful leader, Chief Finner, and I welcome any questions you may have going forward with this.
Good evening. Thank you, Council Member, for hosting this tonight. My name is David Angelo, and I'm your Division Commander at West Side Division. A little bit about West Side Division. It's one of the largest divisions within the Houston Police Department. We're comprised of 2 districts, patrol districts, 19 and 20 district. We're 68 square miles in size. We are home to about 350,000 residents. So we're roughly 10% of Houston's size, but we're approximately 15% of the population. So we're a densely populated district, and it has continued to grow over the past 20 years since I've been there. We've had a lot of undeveloped land on the west side of town, north of Westheimer. All of that is getting built up, which brings a lot more challenges with people moving into the area, with traffic, and with crime. And we've seen our numbers go up a little bit on the west side of town. We are home to 3 district councils, District F, District G, and District J. Just a small sliver of District J along the Senate track. Similar to Commander Reed, our DRT team does a phenomenal job. When I go to these meetings, I memorize the numbers, and I want to impress you with all of the crime stats of our year-to-date stats. But what I find is important to you, the community, is it's not really the violent crime, and it is important, but it's more the quality of life issues. It's the homelessness, it's the noise that the chief talked about from the clubs. It's the racers coming down the thoroughfares. So it's not necessarily the violent crime. So it's these other challenges, which I thought were important, are important with violent crime. It's these other areas as well that are just, I'm hearing just as much from the community that is important to you is violent crime. I know we're going to probably talk about violent crime a little bit, but I just do want to introduce my team, my DRT team back there, who's Lieutenant John Louie. Thank you, John. Sergeant Chris Stevens over our bike unit, Sergeant Travis Parkinson over DRT, and Officer Tim Ritter, who is just a man of everything that we need to get done. If you have any questions, I will hang here after the meeting, and I'll be here till the last person wants to talk to me. So thank you so much. Thank you, Councilman.
Well, thank you so much. So we're collecting those questions. Do we have them ready? So depending on how comfortable I am with these sticky tabs, we may have to go old school church and I pass the mic. But y'all gotta promise me when y'all get this mic, y'all, we minimize and because we on Facebook Live. I don't want y'all to be embarrassed. Okay, so oh, there's no question. Can I announce your name?
It's me.
Yes. Ms. Sable Pitt says no question. Just want to thank you. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and need to know which area I am in. So she should,
All
happy
right.
to hear.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We want you to visit your local division, okay?
I want to know
Yes,
where
ma'am.
that is.
We'll hook you up.
And I am very, very open to working with Councilwoman Tiffany and anything that you want me to, to help you with.
Welcome to
Careful
Houston.
what you ask for.
Oh, I'm community oriented.
Thank you. I
Yes,
appreciate
ma'am.
that.
Okay.
We don't always get thank yous. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. So here's a question. I know we are shorthanded, but can patrol drive through our neighborhoods on an occasion? We just need to see officers out there.
Yes. Y'all probably can't hear me without this mic, but look, you know what? That's what I tell my officers when people are starting and throwing stones and the negative noise. The number one complaint from citizens, I want to see y'all. So that's love, and we're going to do everything that we can do to get units into the neighborhoods. I understand that we are short on staffing, and that's not an excuse, that's a fact. But on our downtime, when we're not running to, the hot calls of concerning violence, we need to get into those neighborhoods, get out the cars and meet people. So I don't know who asked that question, but whatever division, can at least get your block number and your street so we'll know and we'll get some people on there. Okay? Yes.
Wonderful. Next question. In Westmont, we have a trouble house with rotating vagrants, trash, sidewalks blocked, suspected drug deals, many 311 and HPD complaints, but hard to get them to behave. It's awful.
Advice, we need to do something about that. All those problems. So I don't know who it is, but if you can discreetly, because I know we got cameras here, we can get a hold to an officer and we'll get that address, okay? We need to do something about it.
And there are current activities already attached to Westmont that are in progress, and so that house is a priority list. But I want to keep in context, many of the things that prohibit us is state law, right? So there are a lot of state laws that limit what officers can do, what the city can do around certain things. And so particularly when we're talking about a private home in Texas, private homes are king and queen, right? So we have to follow that process, and make sure that we're in communication with our county attorney and our city legal. So we'll make sure that we coordinate and get that together.
Councilmember, there's a question on the other side.
On the other side, okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Okay, number 2, in Tanglewild, our issue isn't legal clubs, but illegal after-hour clubs. Midwest has been working, but it is slow. Advice.
If it's an after-hour club, that's pretty easy for us, okay, because they're not supposed to be operating after hours. So we definitely need those addresses, and we're gonna get on it, okay? Absolutely.
Wonderful. So this is from the Chair of Public Safety from our International Management District, Fred Bandera. We keep hearing about repeat offenders being left out on bail. District Attorney Ogg and Chief Bradford tells us it's the judges, we need to fix the system. That's a statement. Is there something you want to inquire around that?
Well, look, let me, just a statement. It's not my way to throw the stones, but at the same time, everybody has to be held accountable. And I'll start with me. Police need to do their part, the district attorney, and the judges. But I can tell you, we are working together, and Chief Bradford is here, and he don't have to be here. We are working together to bring the system back together. Now, there are some issues on the back end, and everybody's been seeing it on the news, but I'm not gonna speak for the judges or anybody else. I'm gonna speak for the police department, but we are working and doing everything we can to have those meetings to bring the system together and get it moving, because we cannot have this many violent criminals. Once we arrest them, they're getting back out. And I will say that, and I'm gonna stand behind my police officers because they are working hard, okay?
Thank you. So here's a question. How do we help the people earning cash wage jobs in the Bel Air, Chinatown area being targeted after work? They get robbed when arriving home or at gunpoint and the car is taken away.
Yeah, it is a problem, and because criminals, especially now, criminals they're gonna look for people where they got cash, and they know individuals are getting off work. So we got to beef up patrols in those areas, but we also need citizens to be safe as well. Look out for your surroundings, and if you're driving home and you're walking home, know what's behind you on the side of you, okay? So you got a part in that as well, but we need to work together, and that's why our crime analysts, they look at those hot spots where there's robberies and other violent crimes, and that's what we put more units in, so we'll continue to do that.
And if I can add to that, I actually witnessed a robbery when I first took office, and I was having a staff retreat at the International Management District office, and I went to get some coffee for the staff, and this man had bust this woman's, she had her purse in the back seat with everything in it. He popped that window, took the purse, and was gone. She had limited language, and it was very difficult to communicate. We were calling on the phone with her bank, attempting to facilitate. So we talk about say something, see something, but what some of the intentional things Westside has been doing along with the IMD, they've been having targeted outreach and meetings with the Asian community. One, to build credibility in a relationship, so they will actually complain and, pay attention to their surroundings as well, because many of those individuals, seniors, those with limited, transit, and this is for everyone, not just the Asian community, but they're targeted, right? So we have to also pay attention and get off of our phones, because if I was, occupied, I would not have witnessed that to support them. So that's happening more often than not, but there are some things that our police stations are doing in these communities to help facilitate that. So, which leads me into Barbara Jean Kelly's statement: promote the district PIP meetings as citizens' first line of resource for education and resources. And she's absolutely correct. This is gold, what they do every month to get real information, and it's really helpful. So, Chief, you want to talk about
we need to. PIP has been going on for many years in the city of Houston, and it's an opportunity for business owners, regular residents to come once a month to meet their commander and their entire team to express what's going on, but to work together. So we also have the once a month, the citywide PIP down at our union building. So it's a great opportunity. So I'd like for us to send some information out, and especially to our new resident over here. But it's a great opportunity. And as we come out of COVID, more people get vaccinated, right? All right, as we do that, we can have more meetings just as we're doing tonight. So thank y'all.
Sure. No, that's a really good question. And you'll have an opportunity to sign up for Super Neighborhoods today, so you can hear that same information. So question from Tammy Rodriguez. What is being done around street racing, specifically the Bissonnette Corridor, Willcrest, Kipway, and Kenny Road between 12 a.m. and 3 a.m.?
Tammy, Mayor Tammy, where is she? How you go in the back there? Hey, Tammy. Yeah. So look, the street racing and the street takeovers, I think our young folks have lost their minds, okay? It is a problem not only in Houston, all over. But we are cracking down. We have put task force together, and we're going after getting them put in jail and charges filed on them. Also, in some cases, we're confiscating them cars. Good. So that's where you really hit them. Good. You take those cars, so you'll see, not saying that we're going to solve it overnight, but a lot more enforcement, organized task forces to deal with that. So, yeah.
When you say some cases you're taking the cars, what prompts that?
Well, if certain, if you're using it as a part of that, we can confiscate that car. But there's I don't have anybody there from that task force that can give me a little bit more detail. But you can't just, if somebody's just driving, they have to meet certain requirements for us to try to confiscate that car. But we are increasing that.
Good.
But I need to get your name because I want to get you some specific information after that.
And then we can send that information out in our newsletter as well. Right. Good question. Texas open handgun with constitutional carry without permits. That imparts policeman safety and residents' feeling of security. Advice.
No way. No, it's not. I'm gonna be respectful, but let me tell you. If you have to have driving license to drive a car, I'm not understanding that you don't have to go and get some kind of training and get a permit. And I'm not saying you shouldn't pack a gun, but at the very least, could we get the permits like we've had it? And that's the thing that law is signed, and it's going to come into effect. And we're going to be all right. We're going to move forward on it. But does it help me as a major city police? Does it help my officers on the front line? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. All right.
Wonderful. So, what is the solution for the increasing road rage in Houston, especially on the weekends?
It's really sad, and you see the incidents now. I'm going to tell y'all, sometimes we originally might say or think that an incident is road rage, and then we find out later it was somebody that left a club or left a location and they're feuding, but they know one another. So that's not a traditional road rage, but and I'm concerned about those crimes. But I'm deeply concerned about people, what is going through your mind when somebody cuts you off and you get so angry that you fire up in somebody's car. That is crazy, and I can tell you for a fact, and I hope people are listening, that's another task force that I'm forming. And it will be a lot of police officers in marked units, but also unmarked units in our city. And we're going to have DPS in Harris County and some of the constables. So that was a part of our plan, and you'll see that in effect. So hopefully we send a message and get people locked up, because that makes absolutely no sense. But citizens, help yourself as well, okay? If somebody cuts you off, don't blow at them. Just let them go. You know, don't follow anybody. You can call us, give us a description. If you can get a license plate, get it, but don't follow these people.
I can't make any promises.
Yeah, can't, you know, so let's be smart about it.
Wonderful. So, and that's really tough. The road rage. So gunshots. How do we report gunshots heard? I hear the gunshots, but I don't know where they're coming from.
Well, if you hear gunshots, please call us, okay? Sometimes it's somebody just shooting up in the air, but there's some evidence sometimes that we need to capture. So, and I know a lot of citizens say, Chief, you know what? I heard gunshots, and I called the police, and they never arrived. But for that, we're probably not going to go to your door unless you really request that. We want to look in the area and see if we see anything, okay? But at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock in the morning, unless you just really want us to. And sometimes the officer's not going to your resident because they don't want the other people to know that you called it, okay? We want to catch the suspect. But I do want to say one thing about in our management districts. I'm so sorry. Let me acknowledge y'all. So much great support out here in this area. Thank y'all so much for funding, but not only for management districts, but for business owners and property owners. There is a gunshot detection program that we're piloting. It's one location in the city of Houston, and I can't give you that specific, but we're going to be looking to spread that around our city. It's pretty expensive, but when you're looking in terms of funding something, that is a good piece of technology, and we have been arresting people. When they fire that gun off, every officer in the city of Houston right now has a cell phone, and we have a system that it goes to the cell phone and it pinpoints within a few feet where those shots are coming from. So it's very successful, but very expensive. So as we get out of this pilot and we decide what vendor we're going to go with, please listen to us. And if your company, your organization can fund some of that in the area that you live in the area that your business in, it's really smart, okay? And that helps us with discharging the firearms.
And if and when this item comes to council, we would need your support on that.
Yes.
Because that's an investment that we need. So is the poker club on Richmond legal?
They just changed their names today. They changed their name today.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
But everyone clearly knows the poker club.
We're working on it, okay? There are loopholes, but we're going to continue to work on it. We're going to make sure that they're legal. And if they're not, we're going to shut them down, okay?
Would love to have engagement for our adults with autism, so they are comfortable with police. Also an issue for open prostitution and drug sales on Rogerdale and Richmond. And
Make sure we're getting those locations down, Rogerdale, Richmond, prostitution.
by the post office.
By the post
By
office.
the post office.
Wow.
Near the hotel. By the hotel. Post office in broad daylight. So information about autism, and so I know in the Public Safety Committee at Council, we have presented an item for, actually I'm sorry, during our budget, there was a budget amendment from Councilmember Pecky Kamen to present where individuals that have the bracelets that have some type of disability, if they were willing to be self-identified, so officers can then know how to approach them accordingly. And so I believe we're moving into a pilot for that, and so that is under consideration. So you'll hear more from that. So we are actually working with individuals in District F that have identified disabled, limited transit, homebound, to provide resources, and we're going to be doing that with them as well. So that will be coming. So we'll need your help to get that resources out to the community.
I realize something right now. The police chief is standing next to the council. The police chief is holding the mic, and council is just speaking. That's really not a cool look. I'm good.
It's okay. I used to get ends in conduct because they say she talks too much, but I had straight A's. So I couldn't do nothing about that. So how do we keep homeless off properties, no gates on property?
It's a challenge, okay? And let me, and forgive me, I didn't acknowledge our great leader of the city, Mayor Turner. He and his team have been doing great things along with City Council. The goal is to get people into permanent shelters, permanent residence, I meant to say. We don't have a low barrier shelter right now in our city. You know, a few years ago when we started, tightening it up on some of the homeless population, we got a lawsuit, okay? So that's a little bit challenging, but being homeless within itself is not against the law, but that does not give them the right to violate the law. So if they're trespassing on your property, you need to call us, okay? It's only so many warnings that people are gonna get, but also, I wanna be honest with y'all. During COVID, a lot of lower level, non-violent, lesser Class C arrests, we backed away from it, okay? If there are no trials, there's no room for people to go into the county jails. And look, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that's something that we have to consider as a community and as the police department, because low-level nonviolent, we really need to be getting people into treatment, helping people when we can. And I know it's like the business owner or the property owner, like, I'm tired of it, but I want y'all to see the big picture in our city. What we need to be concentrating on is going after those violent criminals, and we gotta give a little bit, even as police officers. We can't just throw everybody in the jail. And I've met with the DA's office, I met with some of our judges, and I told them we'll do our part. But on the back end, I need everybody to do their part on removing some of the violent criminals. So it's a give and take, okay?
Sure. And if I could just highlight, we have an example of that in Briar Meadow. You know, that movie theater on Dunvale closed down, right? And so it became whatever it became. And we worked directly with Midwest DRT, Sergeant Eaton's team, the owners of that property, and the residents of Briar Meadow to mitigate that. But if I can speak as chair of housing for the city, we've actually housed more individuals experiencing homelessness during COVID than any city in the U.S. HUD is actually observing the work that we've been able to do to get those individuals into permanent supportive housing. So some of those encampments you've seen under Allen Parkway, all of that, we've responded to them, we've removed it. 93% of the individuals we extended housing to accepted. The rest of the percentage, they found it on their own. Either they went back with their family or whatnot. In our newsletter a couple of months ago, we had a form for you to identify encampments in the district that we were unaware of. And what we did is, with the mayor's advisor on homelessness, we took a tour of the district and we received some of your recommendations. So I know that individuals around homelessness is a growing issue because people have been pushed out of the city core, out to the west, and we don't have those resources. And frankly, it's frustrating when nonprofit agencies that do this work say, well, this is not the city, we're not coming out here. They don't even consider this the part of the city, right? So we're trying to work vigilantly to make sure that these individuals have their resources, so they can be stabilized, but also keeping them out of the interface of public safety so our officers can do what they need to do. And a small bunny trail, we have a hotspot team that addresses illegal dumping, and we had a friend on Dairy Ashford and Bel Air who slept in the Metro den. So that was his living room, okay, that was his house. And he slept under the stars. That's what he did every day. And I remember watching him brush his teeth in the morning, and I dropped him off some water because I said, okay, he's living, he needs some resources. I instructed the hot team to bring him some trash bags because he had trash under the tree because he didn't have trash bags. I said, drop the trash in the bag, drop it at the corner, we'll pick it up. And that's been the agreement. He did have moved on. But we have to start thinking about humanity and some common sense things. So some of the things we're doing out of our district office is adding trash cans to metro stops that don't have them. So we can then respond to some of that and then support them while we transition. So we can talk more about that later, but I want you to know our eyes are on that issue in this district. Which is a good segue to this question. What can be done about the panhandlers walking in traffic among vehicles when lights turn green, they don't even leave? And that scares the mess out of me.
It scares me as well. I work and live in kind of the downtown district. And it's really, I know some of the individuals are suffering from mental illness, but it is really challenging because they walk out and panhandle. So again, we need to crack down on it a little bit, but remember what I said about the low-level Class C stuff. You know, it's not a whole lot you can do, but citizens really need to, I know that we're a city with a huge heart, okay? We want to help people, but are you really helping an individual by handing them money on the corner? You really need to get to a service provider or some kind of program funnel that money into there, and we really need to be encouraging those individuals to get the help, a holistic approach of mental health, shelter, and all that. That's the way that we do it, but if it's gonna be a city that continues to give every time they walk up, some of those people can make a couple $100 a day.
Yes, they do.
So I don't care how many tickets I write. If it's that lucrative, they're gonna keep coming. So we have to educate the entire public on that, okay?
Can we get more patrol in apartments?
Yes.
That was one of my questions too,
Yes.
but that was not
Yes.
my question.
Yes.
Of Tamawa. So we have Gessner, Meadowland, Elmside. It's hot there this time. And we shouldn't have to live in fear. We shouldn't have to live in fear when things are happening on the other side of Gessner. You can't go to your mailbox. We had a pharmacist that got killed 3 weeks ago. We had a lady that got robbed that's putting the trash out. A car backed behind us just on Saturday. So we know we can't go out past 6 o'clock. And we need to, well, my question was, is there any type of cellular patrol? Because I'm from San Antonio and that's what we did. And I know I'm probably behind times. So I don't know if the PIT program is gonna be good for us, but something needs to happen in the apartment complex. We cannot be the sleeping giants and just be quiet. Something has to happen.
You are right, and let me apologize to you. Any citizen in this city that's living in fear, we have to continue to work together, but we have to do our part. And that's part of my initiative, is to put more officers in those apartment complexes, because we do have a lot of incidents, and some of them are really driving our numbers in the city. So I've asked all my commanders, and they've done it, to identify those in our overtime programs, our down programs. We're gonna see more officers in there, but at the same time, we do have to control the community. But you should see some effects of it, and as we get that criminal justice system rolling as a true system, we'll get some of these individuals locked up, and our city will become safe.
Is there a consortium that we could put together?
Yeah. Yes.
But the management districts
Right.
often have apartment PIPs.
I think she's talking about something like a neighborhood watch.
Oh,
or
like a
something
neighborhood
that.
watch?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure that we get your address, and I'm gonna hook you up with your commander and their team,
Yeah.
and let's talk about it, because that's what we want. I don't want anybody in danger in their life or anything, okay? But there are ways that we can work together and keep a lookout. Anyway, so you're not an official, that'd be real easy with you.
And as chair of housing, we have access to landlords, so
Right.
we can pull in who
Our
owns,
landlords are playing.
who owns
Why
that
not?
property, and so let us work through that process with the apartment association. Public safety is a huge concern of theirs as well, so let us all make sure that, and I made a note with my chief of staff, and she's gonna pull up right behind you.
Right.
So we'll do that, thank you. Is police recruiting a problem with all defund this?
I know what they're going,
I don't-
I think.
okay.
Is defunding the police push,
Oh,
is that
oh.
hurting recruiting in Houston? I think that's what y'all asking about.
Okay.
No, we have not experienced that problem in Houston. Our seats are pretty full, with recruiting right now, and we hope it continues to do that. Houston is a really attractive city. A lot of people are coming in from the East Coast, the West Coast, because the cost of living is good, and it's a major city. So we're not having any problems right now, and I don't foresee us having more problems. So we're in a good place with that, but we got to keep those academies rolling. It's very expensive. Let me give some credit to our council and our mayor for funding a 6th academy class this upcoming year. So we do a trip, 200 to 250 a year retirements. We're projected to get about 300, so I'm not happy about that. So we're gonna have to figure out a way that we can grab some of our senior officers and hold them down and keep them for a little bit longer. So.
And if I could add, one of the recommendations from the task force and some members of council was to remove the barrier of recruitment by credit score. And so that was adopted, and so those people don't know that credit score informed if you were a viable candidate or not. And when we look at 2020, and all of us had to make financial decisions about what we were going to do with our household, student loans, all types of things, and we wanted to ensure that individuals that were interested in entering the force, that they could do so. And that wasn't a barrier. And there was some other conversation we've had with Mayor Turner about looking at how we incentivize buying within the city and purchasing home and making sure that's available with affordable housing. And so you want people planted in your neighborhood. So there are several incentives that were, have been rolled out and will be rolled out to increase.
Councilwoman, she's very educated and very informed. So, look, I want to say this because there might be some people in the audience saying, well, Chief, y'all telling me y'all just let anybody come and hear somebody. Let me tell you something. If it's a good person that got sick or got in a car accident and don't have the support and the financial support for his or her family, and they take a few hits on the credit, we shouldn't be passing those people up.
Yeah.
Make them whole, get them to our agency where they can serve the citizens at the same time, satisfy their debt, and take care of that debt, okay? We've also instituted a few years ago a work experience program. And let me tell you what that is. It used to be 48 hours of college or honorable discharge after 4 years of the military, but we were losing out on a lot of people. You take a kid who leaves high school, family don't have any money, and I can identify, that's how I was, but I went to college. But you take a kid that leaves his or her mother's or father's house and say, well, you know what, I'm gonna go and work for UPS. 17 years old, 18 years old, working at UPS for 3 to 5 years. Excellent employee, responsible. Do you think we should be passing those people up just because they don't have the college? We can educate you once we get you on. We'll pay for you to go to college, but we need good people, and that's what we're looking for, good character people with good hearts. Anybody can go through tough times. So I think things like that help us with our recruiting. And let me give some kudos to our union, because we had to work with them on that, and they agreed to it. So we're in a good place for us recruiting right now.
Appreciate that. Good question. Reopening of the HPD Ranchester storefront. This is a hot topic out there. We prefer for it to be open 6 days a week and longer hours.
Well, I understand right now Ranchester, there's some air conditioning problems over there, and I thought I was going to get hit with that, so we're trying to work that out. But let me tell you something. All storefronts, I think we started with 26 storefronts and 27 storefronts from the very start. So a lot of us have fallen in love with that brick and mortar, okay? When you have the staffing that I have, and I done a study 3 years ago, because that's when I was over off patrol. Ran the numbers, okay? Most storefronts, you open and you got 2 or 3 officers in there and a PSO. That's 4 employees. Some of them have more. Nobody was coming in there doing offense reports, okay? So you got officers in the storefront. You know what I need those officers? This is what I want people to understand, okay? I didn't reassign them to another area. I didn't take their duties away and say, well, you're no longer DRT or you're no longer storefront officer. No, we put them in a car, and I said, look, I want you to go out in those neighborhoods, make your office your patrol car. Get out there and meet with the people, roll around, get in those neighborhoods, okay? So that's the concept of it. But we do realize there were several storefronts that were so important to the community. Take the Compton storefront. 70,000 people or more in a 3.1 mile radius. And most of them are Spanish speaking. That particular storefront is almost 11 miles away from the station, South Geston. That is one place that they do a lot of reports. Ranchester. I worked something out where, you know what, it could be open for part of, I think 12 hours a week or whatever. I forgot the total number. That's a good thing, okay? Now, we always want to get more, but just understand something. I'm dealing with the whole city, and we're dealing with and we're trying to come up with the best plan. So it being open, partial hours, that's good for right now, and that's what I'm gonna stand on, okay? Now, I do appreciate everything that everybody's done in that area, and I think it's really important to that community. That's why we didn't shut it down. But we only have 2 storefronts open right now in the entire city. So let's be grateful of that. And I'm not trying to be, oh, chief, you being a smart mouth up here. No, I'm not. I'm just a realistic, straightforward chief, and that's how I'm feeling right now. Okay?
Great. Is HPD involved with any youth programs or activities to prevent crime in District F?
Absolutely, all around the city, but again, what shut us down, COVID. When Chief Acevedo first got here, the number one thing I sat down and talked to him right behind crime and how we're gonna fight crime was our youth programs. A few administrations ago, when things got a little bit tough, they killed all youth programs, and we're still paying the price today. So I made sure, and Chief Acevedo made sure, that we had a PAL officer at each division, okay? We got other programs, a great program. We got other programs, and we're gonna continue to even increase those programs, because I'm gonna tell you something. We talk a lot of negative things, and we say a lot of negative things about the kids. If we're not loving them and programming with them, that's a problem. So I'm partnering up with Parks and Recs and some other entities to make sure I want group activities, just as I had when I was coming up. If you go into these neighborhoods where the crime is highest, you don't even see Little League teams anymore. We got to do better as a society and better as a community invested in our kids. So we're going to do our part in HPD, but we ask the entire community to step up with us. Okay?
And we had a youth-led public safety conversation with Westside in 2020, which led to a youth-led conference on public safety, and we're continuing that youth-led conversation. So we're doing our part to continue that conversation. Westside even hosted a pizza party for some of the young kids. It was great. So I'm going to go over the last 3 questions because we do have some other individuals I want to acknowledge. So homeless people at the underpass of Beltway 8 and Bel Air Boulevard, they have been there for years. Can the city help them to find a place? Yes.
We are trying, and we will not give up on it. Even when we try to file charges or on those individuals, TxDOT, we got to work some things out with them, okay? Because they have care, custody, and control over it, and they have to show up to court. But that's a challenge.
And what we've been doing in the meantime is with our CARES dollars is with solid waste, cleaning those areas and working with DRT at Westside and our homeless outreach team to make sure that their belongings is taken care of. And I know our management districts work alongside with Westside as well to do the same. So we're attempting to manage that. So this is a question regarding Houston's national influence. How would HPD work to change the national strategy against domestic terrorism? How can the community help?
Well, we have to look out for one another. I'm more concerned as a police chief right now from people's domestic terrorism, okay? I'm always concerned about international terrorism as well. But we have to share information because no terrorist act occurred in a valley that was planned and people knew about it. And you saw something that was suspicious, but it wasn't until after you're like, oh my God, I should have said something. So you see something, say something. We are locking steps with our federal partners to prevent, because if we're not in the business of prevention, when you're doing looking at terrorism, you're losing that battle. So we're constantly had a meeting at headquarters just yesterday where a lot of people, our federal partners came down and we talked about international terrorism, but also domestic terrorism.
Wonderful. And then lastly, what is the current status of the foreclosure moratorium? I can speak to that. The Biden administration recently extended the eviction moratorium. And at a federal level, Locally, ours expired in March, but I can provide more information. I know that there's some nuanced situations around evictions, and there's loopholes, so if individuals are violent or a threat to any of their peers on property, law enforcement can remove them from that. But we'll go, for the sake of time, we can go ahead and recommend. Sure, yes.
I want to bring up Chief Bradford. No, I already called you,
We already
sir.
called you up, so.
Just, yeah. You here, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Councilman. Just to reiterate, public safety is a community responsibility. This means that citizens, businesses, faith leaders, police officers, the district attorney, judges, we all intertwine and play a critical role in keeping our neighborhood safe. That's what has been reiterated here tonight. We're all in it together. We can pull through this, but we all have to play our role, making sure those links are connected. And I'll end by saying this. Chief Finn, I'm glad it's your phone that rings at 3 a.m. instead of mine. Thank you. Thank you all.
Acknowledge Chief Bradford. The reason why we have council district service funds is because of him. And so as an at-large council member, he understood the value of district members having funds readily available to respond to projects. So I want to acknowledge you, because sometimes that stuff gets lost in history. So do with that. And we spend all of that money. So thank you very much. So I do want to acknowledge Super Neighborhood 17 and 25. We have a representative to come speak briefly about ways you can get involved. We have Jeff Baker with Super Neighborhood 17 and Barbara Quattro with 25. They'll share with you the areas that they cover. And do the rest of their.
Hi, I'm Jeff Baker. I'm the president of Super Neighborhood 17. As far as the boundaries, we start at the West Park Toll Road, going up to Buffalo Bayou, and we're from Dairy Ashford out to Highway 6. I've been involved with the Super Neighborhood about 3 years. We talked about the PIP. We have our own little mini PIP at the Super Neighborhoods. We have West Side, we have Officer Whitaker, have Commander Angelo, we have Lieutenant Louis, and they come and they give you the crime stats for the neighborhood. So I know all of you are very interested, obviously, or you wouldn't be here tonight, but we take it a step further. We also have people representing districts F and G, which is both sides of Westheimer, and they're there. We also have representatives from Lizzie Fletcher's office, Jim Murphy's office. We have a representative from Metro. So we have a lot of people there. If you're having problems in your neighborhood, more than just crime, but issues you reported to 311, haven't been able to get a resolution on, any number of things. If you come to our meetings, we have the resources there that you can talk to. You can get contact information. It's like an hour-and-a-half meeting. We meet the second Wednesday of each month. We've been doing Zoom meetings. We hope to resume our meetings at Eagles Trace, which is the retirement community out there on Highway 6. But I think it's a very value-added meeting. Most people that come, they continue to come. They find great value in it. So I hope to see some of you there. I'll be hanging around if you have any questions.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hi, my name is Barbara Quattro, and I'm the chair of Aileen Super Neighborhood number 25. One of the things that we believe is in the broken window theory. If our neighborhoods look trashy, people will treat them trashy. We have a problem in our neck of the woods. People throwing down trash, it looks horrible, litter, that sort of thing. We have a big movement now in trying to get rid of litter in our area, because we're the same folks, the same super neighborhood that brought you that $58 million building that's being built now on the corner of Kirkwood and Bel Air. We want our area to look nice.
25 years!
I had black hair when I started out. Okay, so it's been a long time, but we're trying to improve the neighborhood appearance. The appearance counts. So we've enacted some litter programs. We are planting trees. I'm back in tree mode again. We're planting trees. We're doing cleanups. I'll echo what Jeff says. We have people from the city and from different agencies that come to our meetings, It's a good way to let them see your face and know who they're dealing with. We invite you to come. We had our first in-person meeting in over a year this past month. We meet the fourth Tuesday of the month, and we're meeting now at the 9511 Cook Road. That's Huntington Village Clubhouse. But in 8 months, we'll be meeting at that great facility, and they're gonna name a room after us, so thank you.
So if you sign up for our newsletter, and let me also highlight, we have resources in the back. City departments have brought some resources for you, so you don't have to come downtown. We came to you. Take advantage of that. If you sign up for our newsletter, we keep a standard content block of these standard meetings, because it's in our best interest that y'all are involved as well. And if you are in Tanglewild, can I give you a plug? If you're in Tanglewild and you're interested in participating in a civic club interest group, raise your hand. And Barbara, raise your hand. Tanglewild's in the house. Sign up with them as well. And so it's hard to communicate when we don't have HOA, civic clubs, groups to communicate broadly. So we want you to do that. I do have some thank yous and acknowledgements before we meet and greet. I want you to make sure you get those snacks tonight. Of course, I want to thank Chief Finner and all of HPD that's joining us here tonight. Thank y'all for coming out. We have solid waste management. Now listen, solid waste is here, okay? So go talk to them about your junk waste, okay? You don't have to email me, okay? They're there, so just take advantage of solid waste. And then they have some resources, some baggies and some information that you want to take advantage of. The Houston Health Department, raise your hand in the back. Health Department's here. Share with your neighbors about vaccines, locations. There's pop-ups happening. There's a re-entry program. We talked a lot about homelessness and crime, but there's a program the city has to get those individuals back to work. And we're actually having a job fair in District F in partnership with Harris County Commissioner Tom Ramsey, West Chase Management District, and others to do just that. So that's more to come in August. I want to thank the staff and leadership at Tracy G, including Miss Melissa, the director of the center, for opening up this space, our super neighborhood chairs, Department of Neighborhoods for always working in tandem with our office. We have several interpreters here tonight as an additional resource. Commander Nguyen, Rafael Pantoya, and Isaac Iguea. Raise your hand. And so if you need any Vietnamese or Spanish, we have that resource available to you to help facilitate any connection. I also, last but not least, I have to give it up for the District F staff. Yeah. I always say Council, the West Side is the best side, but we really do have the best staff. And I want to also acknowledge Councilmember Sally Alcorn has a staff minister here. Hello, Councilmember Sally Alcorn at large 5 is here representing. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I want to acknowledge our fabulous interns. Yeah. Hey, interns! And Haviland, who was the lead intern of coordinating and setting up and all of this. So Haviland, thank you so much. I would like to also acknowledge Director General Robert Lowe, along with Vice Consul Wei-Ling Chin and Andrea Yang, Director of SNC. So we clearly have a party. I want you to take advantage of the resources, get to know each other, get to know your neighbors. Let's share information. Let's sign up because we're in this together. So we'll be hanging around. But as for me and my part, that concludes my portion and our time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.